Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. A little bit of a different format today. We had Storm Eta come through and it pretty much, knocked out the Central Florida area in terms of power and things like that for a lot of people. We were one of those folks. And in turn, I had about a day and a half of lost time this week. Plus, I got a second job as a radio technician for a company locally here. And I also, have my full-time job to maintain. So nonetheless, I kind of ran out of time this week to get you guys a really full polished video. So we're going to do a little off the cuff here and I hope you guys like it. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is something that I didn't think was going to come in as clutch as it did, and that was this power bank right here. This power bank is a unit you can get on Amazon. I bought it specifically so that it was a jumper box to keep in our vehicle, because we had in our 2019 Nissan Armada, we had a problem where the battery was not getting charged appropriately, and it turns out there was a bit of an issue with some programming within the software of the Armadas of that year where it was not allowing the vehicle to charge on short trips. Long trips it was fine, but for some reason there was a certain voltage threshold within some kind of control box that was not being met on short trips, and due to COVID we weren't really driving anywhere except for around town to do groceries, take our kids to school. So nonetheless, we had that problem fixed, but in about a month or so we were dealing with batteries that would go dead, and it was a problem that I didn't want to get stranded again. So nonetheless, we bought this little jumper box, and I kind of forgot about it. I just kept it charged and didn't really think anything of it. And then we had this power outage. One, I was reaching for a flashlight, right? All the flashlights in the house, right? Where are they? We need to know where they're all at. And this power box has a flashlight. And, it's not super bright, but it's enough to get around the house, right? So that was cool factor number one. Number two was it's also got USB ports on the front, too. And it also has a Type-C input. So that was really cool. I'm sorry that's not coming into focus. I wonder why that is. Maybe I'm too close. Either way. Nonetheless, so we've got two USB ports, we have a flashlight, and then on top of that, behind this port here on the front, there is an adapter, and that adapter has a plug that goes and has two pigtails on it, two clamps, standard kind of battery style clamps that allow you to jump your vehicle. So instead of going and buying a standard, a standard lithium ion pack, right, that can be larger probably and maybe a little more expensive than this one, you could spend less money and just buy a small jumping box, right, that doesn't have a lot of charge in it. Or you can kind of go in the middle of the road and buy something like this that not only has a flashlight, it has two USB ports that charge at a higher rate. I want to say they're 2 amp or 2.5 amp. So it charges at a higher rate for the USB, and you get a jump box out of it for emergency situations. So anyway, link for this will be in the description. It turned out to be pretty valuable for me during this whole situation, and maybe it'll help you guys out too. And anything you purchase with an affiliate link from me will help the channel. The next thing we're going to talk about is kind of a sanity project, right? So let's say your power goes out, you don't have any way to entertain yourself like you're normally used to, and now you've kind of done the yard work, you've cleaned things up outside, you've done the laundry that you can fold that has been sitting, and you've cleaned up the kitchen as best you can because you don't have any power, you can't vacuum, you can't run any more laundry, and now you're kind of wondering what to do. My advice, keep a Lego set on hand. So I built that little guy while I was running, out of out of sane things to do, and that's a Lego set that I picked up at the Lego store, little Star Wars, a custom droid, and to be honest, I am just in love with the freaking thing. It's awesome. The little head articulates. Let me see if I can do this for you here. So, the little joint articulates there with a knob on the downside, and then there's a little knob here on the front that rotates the head. All the antennas move. Comes with a little placard that tells you about the droid itself and where it came from and why. And it's just it's a pretty cool little kit. I'm really digging it a lot. I would suggest keeping a Lego set on hand for yourself. In the end, I was doing it while my kids were trying to take a nap, and when they woke up, they were excited that a Lego set was being built. So win-win. Last but not least today, we're going to talk about that right there. Originally, this was a fuel shutoff valve on my generator that I keep around for situations like this, right, power outages. But when I went to tighten that valve, because it was leaking, when I went to go turn this on, the whole entire valve just disintegrated in my hand. The gas was eating away at the pot metal that was basically keeping the valve together. So in the end, what I ended up doing was taking the nut off of the output from the gas tank, and I actually chipped away at the pot metal inside of the threads. I then took a fuel filter I had laying around in the garage here, and I put the fuel filter on using the rubber hose as essentially a grommet or an O-ring. I sanded it down and I tightened the threads from that nut onto the fuel filter itself using that rubber hose as kind of the seal. And then I ran that through and sealed it to the hose that was already existing from the original petcock, or the valve itself. So this is just something to say, it's always worth keeping some random things around in your garage that might be able to be used for other things. Don't toss stuff away if it's still in the package. This fuel filter I've had sitting around for probably 5 years, and I just kept it in a junk drawer because in the end, situations like this, now I'm filtering out, which obviously wasn't great gas in the first place, and it got me into a pinch and got our generator running to keep our fridge moving so we didn't lose our food. All right, super last but not least, if you do not know about Ubiquiti unified network adapters, right? So their Wi-Fi adapter, their USG, things like that. If you don't know about those, now is the time to research them, and I'll tell you why. I have a unified Wi-Fi adapter plugged into an old router that runs my wireless access for my network here at home. And after our power outage, we have Frontier. Everything was off, right? And Frontier said there was an outage in the area due to the power outage through the entire network. But as soon as our power came back on and our modem switched on, our entire network went through its upboot cycle and kicked back on with no problem. I hear a lot of people complaining about unified network and the fact that it takes a minute sometimes to get back up, or that it doesn't have necessarily the same kind of, I don't know, reliability of a standard router. And I'm here to say that my system, after every outage we've had, kicks right back on like it's supposed to, boots back up, everything connects to it, all of our home automation, all of our outlets, all of our plugs, all of everything like that, it all just turned back on like it's supposed to. It could access them as normal. So nonetheless, if you haven't researched Unified Gateway, please do. I'll put the wireless adapter I use in the link description, or in the description below. And it's a freaking awesome unit. The unit does great. I plugged it into my already existing router when the Wi-Fi antenna started to die. It was a really cheap solution to get good coverage and not have to go buy another router at $300 or $400 when I could buy an Wi-Fi adapter at 150 bucks. So anyway, link in the description. Take care, guys. I hope everyone's doing okay. I know that we're getting back to normal here on a Friday leading into the weekend. Have a great week. Bye.